The Lakers lost both games this past week in dominant fashion, and the future seems pretty bleak for the Lakers. We are officially past the halfway point of the season, so I want to give out the Lakers mid-season awards. I'll also preview the upcoming matchups happening this week. Let's get into it. This is Lakers Takes Podcast, episode 14. Okay, so the first game of the week was Lakers versus Sacramento Kings, and in this game, the Lakers lost 125-116 against the Sacramento Kings. This one was really disappointing. Overall, in the past 2 weeks or so, the Lakers have been able to beat up on teams that were sub 500 and were able to take care of business. So watching them struggle with a team like the Sacramento Kings was frankly quite disappointing. They had a poor third quarter, a poor second quarter as well, giving up just way too many points. 40 points they gave up. 40 points they gave up in that third quarter. That really made or break the game, and you really didn't get too many positive outcomes from really any of the Lakers' main players. Russ had a rough game, 8 points, 6 assists. I think LeBron was solid overall, 34 points, 7 and 6, but even for himself, it started off being a really good LeBron game and things kind of waned midway through. Monk still gave you some action, 22 points, that was pretty productive, but you really didn't get much from anyone else. It was a struggle from Dwight Howard, it was a struggle for Johnson. It was really just a frankly ugly loss from the team. Unfortunately, things didn't get easier for the Lakers. Their next opponent was the Denver Nuggets, who are a really good team. They're a team that's well above 500. They were 21-19 going into it, and the Lakers were 21-21. Both teams are very, very close in terms of win-loss record, and you were hoping the Lakers could somehow win this one. Didn't look good with how good the Denver Nuggets are, and they have an MVP caliber player as well in the Joker, and him being a big, and the Lakers playing these small ball lineups. It seemed like a recipe for disaster. The Lakers, Frank Vogel specifically, talked about making sure that they were focused on Joker, trying to contain Joker, and watching a bunch of tape on him to see what they could do. One thing they tried to do to combat that was have Dwight Howard start the game, which was obviously a good way to kind of try to cancel him out or at least dwarf his impact a little bit. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. The Lakers lost 133-96. They got blown out. This one really was never a game. At least the Sacramento Kings game was back and forth during that first quarter and a little in the second. This one was kind of over from the jump. Denver was just head over heels better than the Lakers. Again, didn't get a good game from Russ either. 19 points, but he missed a lot of bunnies near the rim again, just like he missed in the Sacramento Kings game. Monk didn't have a good game, 4 points in 25 minutes. Dwight Howard had a pretty productive time. He played 21 minutes, but he also got 3 fouls. But I think he put up a good fight, kind of defending Joker and also adding that vertical spacing the Lakers want, getting a few lobs from Malik Monk, actually. So those plays were really nice, but that was about it for highlights. LeBron was fine, 25 points, but it felt like a pedestrian game for LeBron, which is typically a very, very good game for anyone else, but for him it just like, okay, it was an okay game, but nothing, stand out-ish from his performance. It was just a standard LeBron game, and unfortunately the Lakers needed so much more than that. They got absolutely waxed in this game. They did not win any quarters, gave up 39 in the second quarter. They gave up 73 points at halftime, 73 points, and that's just frankly, not only unacceptable, definitely not going to win any games against good teams like that. And the Denver Nuggets are a good team, but they're like the 4th or 5th best team in the West. That means there's another 3 or 4 teams that could easily blow you out this way. Looking at the Suns and looking at the Warriors and even the Jazz, who the Lakers are going to play later. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And that's what's really concerning here, is that if this is happening now against this caliber, there are more levels. This isn't the greatest team in the West even. And that's what's concerning here. And Lakers Twitter was abuzz. People were very upset. I do a live show on TikTok after the games, and a lot of the comments were, trade this guy, trade that guy. Obviously some of that was just reactionary and emotional, but I think it's a representation of the frustration Lakers Nation has had with this team and with these players. They're not cutting it. 21-22, even when you add the concept of Kendrick Nunn and AD being out, it just isn't good enough. And it's been a really frustrating season, and that frustration continues with this blowout loss. So earlier this week on Lakers-Takes.com, I wrote an article giving out the midseason awards for the Lakers. I also recently, just a couple days ago, released a video version of it where I kind of added some VO and added some video so you can kind of get a little bit more context and consume the content that way. So please, if you are a fan of this pod and like what we talk about, go ahead, read the article. It's different content there versus what's on the video versus what's gonna happen on the pod. But if you're just a fan of the pod, don't worry. I'm going to do a different version of that. I'm going to give out the same awards, so same winners, but I'm going to kind of riff on it and talk about it differently here. So again, go back there if you like that kind of content. If you're already watching me on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. But I just want to let everyone know where this information is in the different kind of platforms it's on. So here we go. Now that the Lakers are officially at the halfway point, I wanted to give out the midseason awards. Now I've done this so far in the first quarter of the season. Now here at the halfway point, I'll do it at the 3/4 mark and at the end of the season. For me, not the end of the regular season. I'll actually pick the end of the season, whenever that is for the Lakers. But for now, you can assume end of season, and we'll see when that is. So now that we're officially at the halfway point, I thought it'd be a perfect time to talk about this and kind of, see how these things develop and how these things change over time. So let's get into it. Let's get into the midseason awards. Now, again, this is just Lakers awards. So MVP, sixth man, defensive player for the Lakers on the Lakers. So it's a for us, by us award. I'm not saying these players should win it for the NBA. I'm saying these players should win it for this team. So now that we know that, let's get into it. My MVP for the Lakers in the 2021-2022 season at the midway point is LeBron James. And I think this one's really easy. This one's really clear. LeBron's just been so dominant. He's leading the team in minutes. He's leading the team in points. He's got 7.4 rebounds, 6.6 assists. He's just been dominant. He's been amazing. Year 19, given that extra context of what that is, seeing how many players have been injured and things of that nature, and he's still kind of kept it rolling. And yes, the record is not good. We just talked about 2 disappointing losses, embarrassing for different reasons, and he's still the MVP. He's still the best player on the team, and he's still the only reason the Lakers even have a puncher's chance of anything this year is because LeBron is that good, LeBron is that impactful, and LeBron is that valuable. And that's why he's the MVP. So, I know it's been a frustrating year, but please, watch what LeBron's doing. He's still the best player on this Lakers team, and that's saying something given the star power the team has, given the young players this team has, that is very clear. It's LeBron. He's the MVP. Next award I gave out, which is an interesting way to phrase it, is Defensive Player of the Year. And actually, I abstained. I didn't give this award out. And I think that says a lot. I gave it out last time. I believe it was to AD. But this time, I didn't even feel comfortable giving it to anyone. Maybe it could have went to Reeves, but he's a rookie, and I feel like he's still not amazing on defense. He just tries hard, which is good. It's what you want. But the team's just been so bad individually, so bad as a team. We just talked about the 73 points they gave up in the first half of a game. I just didn't feel comfortable even for this team giving out a Defensive Player of the Year award. So that's definitely a bad sign, and definitely a sign of where things are, that I feel that way and that I can even do that. And, I've shared my articles, I've shared my videos, and people didn't give me any flack for this. They're like, yeah, you're right. There really isn't anyone deserving. So I think that's definitely a bad sign for the Lakers. I hope next time I do this, I feel like there's someone who consistently gives a good effort and a good performance on the defensive side of the ball, night in and night out, so I can give them the Defensive Player of the Year award. But right now, there isn't a Laker on there that I feel comfortable doing that for. So I didn't give the award out. Most Improved Player of the Year. For this award, I gave it to Malik Monk. This one I did feel comfortable with. Malik Monk, the god of dunk, microwave Monk, he's been amazing. He's definitely playing well above and beyond his minimum contract. He's probably going to get himself a nice payday after this season's over, and it's well-deserved. He's had a career year in points, rebounds, assists, minutes played. He's now kind of a solidified starter. He's starting 8 consecutive games, and there's a lot of problems with the Lakers. One of them isn't Malik Monk starting. He's been a shining star in that role. He's been playing well, and I'm very happy he joined the Lakers because they really needed him, and they really need him. And he's balled out. He's really shown out well, and just grateful that Malik Monk's on the team. Most Improved. Now for Sixth Man of the Year for the Lakers, I went with Carmelo Anthony. I think this was another easy decision. Carmelo has been so good from three. He's been so good spacing the floor, hitting his shots, getting hot. Called him Staples Melo. I guess now he's Crypto Melo. But he's had single-handedly has won a few games where he goes 6 for 8, 5 for 6. 4 for 5 from 3 and just really torches it up. He brings an energy to him. The crowd goes crazy when he makes a 3. It's like when a star player hits a home run or when LeBron makes a dunk. That Carmelo 3, he starts putting the 3 fingers to his head and tapping them. Crowd goes crazy. The team gets into it. They get excited. He brings that energy. That's what you want coming off the bench. He's he's just a bucket. He's just a bucket, and he's still able to, on any given night, give you 15, 18, 24. He's really good in the 15 to 21 minute range. Great being the first player coming off the bench. It's just a joy having him on the bench, having him on the team, and he's clearly the 6th man of the year. Now for the peak performers category. In case you're new here, peak performers just highlights the players that are doing the best at points, rebounds, and assists. So just who has that highest stat average on the team. So no analysis or opinion. It's just, hey, this is who scores the most, this is who rebounds the most, this is who gets the most assists. So let's go into those awards really quickly and just announce who they are. So far, the peak performer for the Lakers in the points category is LeBron James, averaging 29.1 points per game. The peak performer from the Lakers in the rebounding category is Anthony Davis, averaging 9.9 rebounds per game. And the peak performer for the Lakers in the assist category is Russell Westbrook, averaging 8.1 assists per game. So there you have it. Those are our midseason awards. We'll see if the year starts to take a turn here, entering that third quarter. It's been a rough year, but those are the awards I have to give out as we see things right now. All right, so let's get into this upcoming week set of games. Normally we have, 3 or more games a week. Last week was a rare week with just 2 games. This week's a little bit more common. It's got 4, so we're building up in games here. So here are the games coming up. On Monday, the Lakers are playing the Jazz. Again, tough game at 7:30 p.m. West Coast time, PT. On Wednesday, the Lakers are playing the Indiana Pacers. Same time, 7:30. And on Friday, the Lakers are playing the Orlando Magic at 4. And then the final game of the week, because the podcast comes out on Monday, is the Sunday game against the Miami Heat. So there's some really tough games here. You got the Jazz, you got Miami. These are some tough games to try to win. We'll see how the Lakers go this week. I think 2-2 would be fine. Obviously, 3-1 would be great, but I think 2-2 is doable. If you can win those middle games and you can still lose the Jazz Miami game, but I don't know how much more Lakers Nation can take. These losses are hitting them hard, but it's just the reality of the situation. So it doesn't really matter how you feel. If the team's going to lose, the team's going to lose. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Lakers can start to rack up some wins here, but that seems more and more difficult. No big news on AD yet. We're still waiting. We got an update that there is not really an update, but also it's not bad news. So we're just waiting. I think we're likely to get something more substantial this week. Stanley Johnson is reportedly, according to Shams Charania, going to get another 10-day contract. So again, they're buying a little bit more time. Trade stuff's coming up. We'll see what happens there. I'm not going to speculate too much on that, but we'll see if he keeps that spot or if they're going to open that slot for someone else. We'll have to just kind of wait and see, but he will be signed to another 10-day, at least according to Shams, and we'll see when that comes out. And Kendrick Nunn, it's been the same update that he's close and he's doing well, and we have never seen him play, and we're past the halfway point of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how those things work out. But regardless of what happens, win or lose, I'll be here next week with Lakers Takes Podcast episode 15, updating you on all the games that's happening, talking about the Lakers on a broader subject, a bigger subject, and then also previewing next week's game. So let's hope the Lakers get some wins this week so we can have a positive podcast next week.